The focus of today's training video are switches. People with a physical disability or a learning disability may be unable to control a computer using a keyboard or a mouse, and so they need an alternative, and one such alternative are switches. Now, switches come in all shapes, all sizes and colours, and the web page that we have in front of us here is from an online shop that actually sells switches. Now you can see, just as we scroll down, just how wide the choice is, and in a few minutes time we'll actually be going in to have a look at some of these so we can see physically what they look like. Now, switches in terms of function. One switch normally mimics the action of one key on the keyboard, such as the enter button, or it mimics the action of one action on the mouse, such as the left click. Now, depending on a person's capability, that person might be using just one switch, or they might be using half a dozen switches at any one time, or even more. Now, switches are physically connected to a computer via control boxes, and I'll be talking about control boxes in another video. Now, these control boxes are best thought of as adapters because they enable the computer to work with the switch and actually communicate with one another. The reason that there is such a variety of switches is because they are trying to cater for all the different needs that people who have a physical disability or a learning disability might have in terms of trying to control a computer. Right, so let's have a look. Now, this one section here of the website, these are all simple switches, and they're very much the same as each other. The only way that they tend to differ is, and if I can just show you one, is in terms of their size. All of these simple switches tend to be made of very, very durable plastic. They tend to have the options of being either blue in colour, yellow, green or red. And you can see here that there's a wire that goes from the switch, and that would connect itself to the control boxes that I was talking about a few seconds ago. And most of these carry the name of Jelly Beamer or Big Beamer. Another way that these might differ is, in this day and age, the switch may not need to be connected to the control box via a wire, and so some of these switches are wireless. Okay, I want to have a look at different types of switches. Right, and beg your pardon, all these switches, what happens is a person is just required to press them. And obviously they can press them with their hands and their fingers, or they can press them with any other part of their body with which they can deliberately make a movement with, such as, I don't know, their foot or their knee or their head. Let's go on now and have a look at some different types of switches. Okay, this switch here, labelled and named as a squeeze switch, all that the person is required to do is to make the squeezing action with their hand. This one here is the wobble switch, and what you can see is it's got like it's got a big paddle, or wand as they call it, coming upright. And this is for someone who maybe hasn't got so much control of their hand and just would need to lightly tap, be able to go in contact with the switch with any part of their body. Okay, the plate switch just requires a very, very light touch. It doesn't require a touch which is as hard as, for instance, one of the jelly beamers would be. Okay, and this is another example of a switch which just needs a very, very light touch. And that's it really. You can see that the variety is immense, and I hope that you're going to watch my next video, which will be all about the control boxes.